7:56, the International Falls Koochiching Airport Commission regular meeting of January 25th. I don't see anybody here for public comment. We'll go to the minutes, May 28th. Look for motion.
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the sign.
Aye.
Motion approved. Financial statements. What's duck spray service?
Fence line spraying.
That's the fence line?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Exceptional value.
And MB companies?
Broom equipment.
MB broom, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. That's all I see. Anyone else have anything? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and a second to accept the financial statements. Any more discussion on it? Hearing none, call for the sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Engineers report.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Chelsea. Good to see you in person.
Yes, I'm in
It's been a
person
while.
today. So starting with the project on the apron and the runway 422, the crosswind runway. We have the bonding packet for the bond funds from the state submitted. The state has to work through a lot of things on their end, so they're hoping that all of that is in place and set by end of summer. So everything is encumbered and good to go, so the project is fine to be underway, but the funding will be all finalized by the summer, just for the bond. The FAA funding is secured and good to go.
Very good.
Construction has begun. It's been going about, 23 to 24 days now. And it's going really well. KGM is starting on that northeast side of the apron. They reclaimed all of the material. So they're using that reclaimed material as P154 and the reclaimed material on the runway. So it's a nice material. It's good. It meets all the specs. And usually when you mix in some of that pavement, it makes it a little bit stronger too. So that's always good.
That makes like 15% or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're doing compaction testing on that subbase we have to do it in 2 lifts. So there's 24 inches of that P154 sand material. So we're doing 1 lift of 12 inches, and then they're going to do the compaction testing on it with the nuclear gauge from Braun. So they'll be doing that. We've had a couple of passing ones, but this material is not super uniform, so it's tough to get those to pass. So we might have to switch to a DCP test, which is a density cone penetration test, which we've done in the past. So that's kind of what MnDOT's sticks with, and I don't know, the FAA likes their nuclear gauge testing, so.
Very good.
Minnesota Power has lowered their existing power cable over for the VOR that comes off of kind of Hangar Row area near Crescent. So they lowered that, put it in conduit. It wasn't in any conduit, so they were able to kind of fix that and make it good for under pavement. And FAA was able to have the VOR stay operational with the backup generator. So all smooth sailing there. And I believe you guys have already approved the pay application for KGM in the amount of $335,941.71.
Very good.
Okay, any questions with that project?
No.
Or anything to add?
No, it's looking good.
It's going very well.
Yeah.
And Chelsea and team and everyone involved is doing great work.
Yeah, a little bit of a team effort, I would say.
Very much so.
Equipment acquisition. This is kind of the same as last month. The loader was delivered, still waiting on the snowplow and the sand bucket and updates on that. Aircraft de-icing equipment is expected to arrive in late September or early October. And the pavement de-icing truck is all delivered, been paid for, good to go. So I'm going to remove that one for the next meeting.
All right.
Transient hangar, I do not have any updates on that. We're planning still for design on that next fall.
Okay.
For the state 2025 projects, the terminal improvement grant was just officially received.
This is fantastic.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so they were able to get that amendment in there for those additional camera equipment and the potential to have to replace the entire system due to it not being able to handle the new equipment I think he said like a 25% chance that it could handle the new equipment, but the state just approved replacing all of it, so that's great for
Yes, it
that.
is.
So we'll get that underway here and get that started soon.
You bet.
So we will be replacing all of it then.
Yeah, so I think they're still gonna like maybe try to use the old one, but if we have the funding for it, it's probably better to just.
Why even try
Right,
it?
because I think it's
So
already kind of been
upgrade
an
it to
issue.
what's
So, yeah, believe me.
It's old and it's gonna get older, so let's put the new one in.
Built-in
We got
obsolescence.
new cameras, we got,
Yeah.
yeah, we need new
Okay,
equipment.
well, we'll definitely just tell them to go forward with
Yeah,
it then,
I think so.
the brothers.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. And then the pickup truck and plow, we're waiting on that executed grant still, but everything has been submitted and they said it's gonna be approved, so we're just waiting for that final grant to put that order in.
Sounds good.
I don't think there's too many updates on the CIP. We have that electric gate installation project coming up. And then the design and reimbursable agreement for the final phase of runway 1331. So that'll probably start up this summer. We'll start looking at things for that because that reimbursable agreement takes a while for the FAA to get their ducks in a row and everything for that. And with their lower workforce, we want to start that stuff early.
Been 900 feet on the
Sorry,
freeway.
right on that.
What's left yet?
Yeah,
Correct,
just that
yeah.
final. But there is, I mean, the FAA owns the PAPI and the Malser, I think, so.
That's correct.
There's definitely gonna be some impacts with reimbursable agreements for that, so.
Okay.
And then the ASOS critical area obstruction removal, that will also, happen next year, so. And that should align with the new ASOS.
Could use a new ASOS.
Yeah. Well,
Then I don't have to call you and get a weather update
Every
every
day.
time I'm working.
raining. Okay.
The other project that we have for next year is that phase one of the future tax lane development, kind of on that fence line over here.
Parallel to 108.
Yep, so that project is set to begin design in the fall or summer here, so. And then otherwise, upcoming meeting dates, every Thursday we're meeting at 9 a.m. for construction progress updates. Anyone's welcome to join if they wanted to.
Right here. Coffee
right here.
provided.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that is my update, unless anyone has any questions.
All right. And for the viewers on the screen and viewers on KCC TV, if you hear a lot of background noise, just let everybody know that they're working on the roof right above us right now, and we'll move into the terminal leak.
Well, as you know, yes,
Update.
they're working right above us right now. The area over the lobby is 90% completed. All of the demolition's been completed. The new rubber membrane's been installed. Everything's been watertight, and we've had some good tests this last couple weeks. So things are going very well. They expect to hopefully have all the roofing done this week of the major rubber being put in, removal of all the old stuff. They'll have a couple, next week's a short week, so they'll go into that before maybe they tear off around these monitors, but for the most part, everything should be done at the end of next week, and then they'll probably wrap up right after the 4th with putting the new sheet metal back on and covering everything up and getting all the snow guards on.
Perfect.
So the light monitors are gone. They've started infilling with the ceiling material, the new stained ceiling material in the far south one. If you peek your head in the plastic up there, you can look up and you can see the ceiling boards. They got about half of it done. I'm not sure why they're not here today, but I did hear that they come out of Hastings or Rochester, and I did hear they got 5 inches of rain this morning. So,
Oh, man.
but all up here, from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, all is excellent. And so, your impression, I haven't heard anything from anybody.
Well, I want to say kudos to the way they they did it
Unbelievable.
to, well, how do I want to eliminate any disruption with our passengers coming in and out.
Absolutely.
The way they did it with the plastic chute coming down and everything. I mean,
Yeah, and when I was
I was
here,
wondering how they were going to do that, and they did a great job.
you know, when I was here last week, and this is why I really pushed for these guys, because they understand safety, and they actually had, while the carpenter was working up on the filling in the openings, and they had the plastic around, people still walked around the barriers, through the barriers, over the barriers, and they actually had, the guy was down there kind of directing people away and everything, so everything's gone good.
Excellent.
Roof-wise looks, everything's going as planned. We had one small detail change, which I approved, that is actually going to make things look better and function better. We brought it where we tied into the metal panels. Originally, I had designed about a 6-inch high control joint that was going to run down both of them. After I met with the roofer up here on early phases, we decided we were going to bring that down to 1 2x6 laid flat, so it's even with the ribs, and there's less chance of snow and ice catching on it, and I think it just blends in better. And so you guys all have a shop drawing that'll go showing what we did there. Otherwise, everything else, we buttoned it up, watertighted it. Down in the car rental storage office, where we had the severe leakage, all the wet materials and damaged materials were pulled out and replaced. And then we have actually run the roofing material up and over that sidewall. So even if the ice were to get behind the metal again, it will not leak. Whereas when we opened it up, we found that nothing was sealed behind there. It was just the metal and then a air barrier that was very vulnerable to water, and we all know, we've seen the ceiling in there.
Sure.
So hopefully we've got everything done.
Perfect. Thank you.
There's been no changes to the contract price at all, and I'm 99% certain there will not be.
Great.
If I may, just can't emphasize enough how fortunate that Mike involved and helped us steer us towards this particular construction company. His reputation precedes him as does that construction company. This is the best construction project I've ever been involved in. Those people are absolutely top-notch quality. They communicate. I get emails every day, all day long, exactly what you're doing. It's amazing.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Truly
That's good to
phenomenal.
hear.
Oh, they are. I would highly recommend them for any project.
Yeah, and
I'm impressed.
that's why, you know, yes, we could have looked for cheaper options and stuff when we were in the mitigation phase and the arbitration, and then when we met and we had a lower number from other contractors. It's why I had the discussion with you guys and with you that low price isn't always the best answer.
Right.
And we have safety as the highest priority on a project like this.
Right on.
Yes, the roof project, I'm not worried about the roof projects. You get a good roofer on there, you get people watching them. That's the easy part. It's making sure nobody gets hurt. And so far, so good.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Mike.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So that's it. So I'll be back again next week, and then hopefully only one more trip after that, and we're done.
Perfect. Thank you
good.
very much. Appreciate
Thank
the
you, Mike, very
Have a
much.
great day.
Thank you, Mike.
Don't leave.
Yeah. You had to say that, didn't you?
Thank you, Walt.
It's leaked every time so far, that's fine.
Any update on the airport entrance?
Oh, I'm right here. Look at this. Okay, here we go. Talking with Stevie Boyum and looking at some different options here. It's interesting. Let's go with the three options first. I'm going to give you a price breakdown. So if on the split face block, so in demo and landscape, so if you change the block, etc., leave the basic thing there. That's one option, and I'll just give you square numbers. That's 26,675. Brick color option, demo and landscape, etc., you're at 32,000. But I feel personally the best option is the poured wall. Build a whole new wall. Pour a solid wall. Stain and sealed option, etc. And that's 27,060. Now I can do some more shopping out there and look around and kick some more tires. The first two options, you're still ending up with the old structure that is cracked vertically, horizontally to the bottom of the top to begin with. And I just think that if we start, I think you're band-aiding it no matter what option we go with. I know that a poured wall sounds kind of, what I'm looking for. Maybe it's not as aesthetically pleasing, but I would think that modern poured wall, nice square look, and
Get green text, put signage
reattach the sign on it. Get rid of the juniper, put in some nice black dirt, get some grass in that area and what have you. But yeah, those are the options basically.
The foundation is okay though?
Foundations, I think
Or then when they pour the wall, they're gonna go with the foundation too?
brand
right
new
away?
foundation, yeah, the whole deal. Yeah, right to the base.
What do we have options to pay for that?
I think it'd all be a local fund.
Okay.
I'd have to look at budget numbers to see where we're at in the budget.
Why don't you do that and then bring that to the next meeting?
Okay.
So that we know
Sure.
where the money's gonna come from.
Good
so
idea.
that
Exceptional. It's a lot of money.
people can, yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, so far as, because you're not gonna get FAA or it's
Right.
gonna be something that
Right.
the group is gonna have to pay for. So.
Right. We have to send Chelsea down and get some more money for the camera. We actually did try this sign, didn't we?
Well, it
I
might
think we
be.
did, yeah.
We did.
And they told us no.
Yeah. They gave us the international sign of love.
Yeah,
No.
but
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, so-
we'll have a better idea next week.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of
Great.
gives us some
I'll do a
idea.
little more digging as well.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. And ribbon cutting, Kyra.
Oh, yes. The Anderson family is aware of that, and I asked them as soon as possible get us back at the time and a date, and we would make that time work, and I have not got that back yet.
Okay.
So maybe what I should do is bypass Stick and go right to Robin. Yes, I said it on camera. It's okay. Yeah, yeah. And I'll go right to Robin. I'll write myself a note. Go to Robin. Bypass Stick. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
I don't think there's any more old business, Kyra.
Nope.
Well, we'll move into new business, and that looks like Ryan. You might be up there.
Ryan?
Alright, can you all hear me okay?
Loud and clear,
Yeah.
babe.
Perfect. Alright, well I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. As in the past, as last year, I've got a PowerPoint presentation to walk through here, which is usually a little more palatable than walking through the financial statements themselves. Alright, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Alright, so I'm here to present the results of the 2024 audit. Moving into the first page here, I'd like to start out with just a little bit of a reminder of what exactly the audit process is. What is the purpose of an audit? What do we do during an audit? So in a nutshell, basically, we obtain your financial records from throughout the year, 2024, and we just perform various procedures where we look at supporting detail for the transactions that occurred during the year, all for the purpose of verifying what's in the accounting system, because that's what flows into the financial statements. So we're looking at invoices, and we're looking at bank statements, and we're looking at reports from the state and payments from the city and the county, and making sure that there's support for all of this so that we can give you this clean opinion, which is what we've given you this year, the unmodified clean opinion on the financial statements. Next page here talks about, so yes, you did get that clean opinion, but now how did the audit go? Is there anything of significance, with the audit process itself that we need to point out? Overall, the audit went smoothly. In addition to the audit, we also do a fair amount of year-end bookkeeping, and we have to gather a lot of information. So it's a time-consuming process, but by the time we received everything we needed, from there on out, things went pretty smooth. Nothing unusual noted in terms of accounting policies or strange transactions or anything like that. So everything was pretty status quo from that standpoint. Now the next page here, we've got a few items related to internal controls and processes that we always need to point out. Most of these are pretty standard. I'll walk through each one of these pretty quick and give you a brief overview. The first one of these relates to audit adjustments. Basically, what this is saying is that during the audit process, we assist with various year-end adjustments, and they're mostly just cash to accrual type adjustments. So during the year, you basically, in your accounting system, you record cash receipts and disbursements as they occur. But your financial statements at the end of the year, we need to change that. We need to present it on what's called the accrual basis of accounting. So when you do a construction project and you have all these payments to a contractor, well, we can't just record those expenses right when they're paid. We have to capitalize that as part of a project, part of an overall asset. That asset goes on the balance sheet, and then you have an estimated useful life. Maybe it's going to last 20, 30 years, and then you depreciate that asset over the next 20, 30 years, and you take a little bit of expense each year as that gets written off. So that's just an example. We also need to record year-end payables and receivables and try to figure out the amount that's due from the state and federal governments under all the various grant agreements that are outstanding. So because we assist with those adjustments, we have to note that in the financial statements. The next two here, very common, lack of proper segregation of duties. The city is your fiscal host, and they have this finding as well. And it's just hard to get away from this finding with an organization your size. There's a limited number of people that are involved with the accounting process, kind of see and are hands-on with the whole process, and it's just not really possible to fully segregate each piece of the accounting process to different individuals. So something to be aware of. And then the bullet point below that is just saying that we as a third party do prepare your financial statements, and because you don't have an internal CPA doing that task, doing that function, there's theoretically a risk that there could be a missing disclosure or an undetected error of some sort. And then the item on the right-hand side here, those three that I just went through, those are fairly boilerplate. Like I said, a lot of organizations your size have those findings. The one on the right-hand side here is a bit more specific to the airport and the process that we go through during the audit each year. This relates to accounting for the grants and specifically determining the amounts that are due from the state and federal governments. During the audit process, we basically spend a lot of time gathering all the invoices from throughout the year, trying to figure out which project each one relates to, and are they grant eligible, and where did they get submitted? Do they get submitted under this claim or that claim? And do we have receivables? Do we have amount we're going to get reimbursed related to these payments? So there's a lot of time during the audit that's put into figuring that out. And in a perfect world, that would be something that was tracked a little more thoroughly internally, where there would be maybe ledgers and schedules that have all of these costs summarized, and then have the expected reimbursements kind of summarized, so that at any given you have an idea of pretty much how much is going to get reimbursed at some point under these grants. All right, next page here, Minnesota legal compliance. Basically, the state just requires us to go through a few checklists that look over, how did you go about contracting and bidding for projects? Were there any conflicts of interest? How do you pay your bills, etc.? No findings here. Everything good.
Told you guys.
That will move into the numbers a little bit here. So as we do move into the numbers, I want to remind you that these numbers are based on that accrual basis of accounting that I talked about. So they might not fully align with what you perhaps expect based on just the payments that you made during the year or the amounts you received. And I'll kind of explain those differences as we go here. So here we have 2020 through 2023, just the entire airport, and then the current year on there as well, 2024. And you can see just a comparison to last year. Revenues decreased about $900,000, and that's basically entirely related to the capital project grants, the amounts that you expect to get reimbursed, the revenues that were recognized in relation to the project expenses that happened during the year. And we'll look at these numbers in a little greater detail in the next couple slides. And then expenditures increased actually by $490,000, but that's basically entirely related to depreciation expense. So not actual payments that were made, but the fact that you wrapped up some projects in throughout 2023 and 2024, and when those big projects get placed into service, on paper we start depreciating them, and then your depreciation expense goes up compared to what it was last year. And then I just want to point out, back in 2020 and 2021, you had some very significant grant revenues that were recognized for some large projects that were going on at the time. So that's why that looks so significantly different back at that time. All right, next page here. The next 2 pages, actually, we have those same revenues and expenses, just broken out into greater detail. So this page here is looking at revenues, the same revenues from the last page, just for 2023 and 2024, broken down into smaller categories. Just moving across the board here, charges for services, very comparable to the prior year. Operating grants, this actually dropped off a bit. You had the ARPA funds, you still had some COVID funding back in 2023, which was not there in 2024. And then the capital grants, in 2023 you had some pretty significant projects. You had the runway rehab, fuel farm, parking lot, de-icing, etc. And as the expenses for these projects were incurred in 2023, you then accrued, you recognized corresponding revenue for amounts that you expected to get reimbursed under these grants. So that's why you had more revenues back then. Just not quite as much project activity in 2024 compared to 2023. And then the appropriations from the city and the county. This is basically just related to operations for the most part. And you'll remember in 2023 there was kind of a year skipped there with appropriations from the city and the county. So 2024 is actually kind of a return to what it was prior, pretty comparable to 2022 if you were to look back 2 years. And then other income, this is that legal settlement for that roof project that you were just talking about. So that's the extra revenue that was recognized there for 2024. Next page here, we have the expenditures for the airport. Once again, broken down into smaller categories. Very, very comparable from 2023 to 2024 here. The only real change that I see is the one I already talked about, is depreciation expense on the right-hand side. And just to reiterate, this is just because you had more projects that were completed and to the point where, okay, now we start depreciating them over the next 20, 30 years. So on paper, we have that depreciation that's being affected. All right, so in the accounting system, the airport's broken down into 3 funds, three sub-funds, we'll call them. So there's operations, which is blue. This is looking at the cash for each one of those funds, just cash over the past 5 years. So there's operations, there's the annual capital projects, which are just smaller recurring maintenance type projects. And then there's your major capital projects, which are usually heavily state and federal grant funded, along with a maybe 5% local share. But things are segregated between those 3 categories in the accounting system, and this is the cash over the past 5 years. Operations, you can see, has actually been on a bit of a climb over recent years. I would attribute this partially to the COVID funding that's come through, along with the, combined with the city and county appropriations. So you can see you had a jump there from 2023 to 2024 with the cash on hand for operations. The red, the annual capital projects, that historically holds pretty steady. It bounces around a little bit, but it holds pretty steady around zero. You don't keep a whole lot of cash there in the annual capital projects category. And then major capital projects, this dropped off just slightly compared to the prior year. Basically, there's a lot of fluctuation here just because of the volume of activity that flows through here and the payments for all of the projects that have been happening, and then the state and county, or city and county kind of or funding advances that come for these projects. All right, and here I have one final slide. I think I showed this one last year too. This one I find kind of interesting because this is doing a bit of a comparison between the amount that is due to the airport under these various grants that you have with the state and federal government. That's the green bar, the amount, the reimbursements that are recorded as a receivable under these grant agreements. And then I should clarify, this is basically focusing just on your major capital projects fund. So this isn't really related to operations as much as it is just those big capital projects. So the green is those reimbursements that are due. And then the bars here is the amount of cash advances, the funding that has come from the city and the county up front in order to finance these projects. And if you'll recall, I think that was a change that happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where the city and the county, after much discussion, it was decided that they would make cash advances to the airport to fund these projects. And then the idea being that when the reimbursements come in under the grants, then the payments would be made back. So this is temporary funding to facilitate the cash flows of those projects. And then when the grant funding comes in, then that gets repaid. And you can see this year, this is the first year that the amount that's due under the grant receivables has actually dipped below the amount that's been borrowed from the city and the county. And there's two factors that are driving this. The first one being that there were a couple projects in 2024. I think the costs for these two projects totaled about $800,000. And there wasn't a grant formally executed for these yet. So there weren't any reimbursement requests made, and we didn't really have a formally executed grant in place yet. Because of that, we didn't record any receivables for those project expenses. So as a result, this green line couldn't be as high as what maybe it otherwise would have been if we were able to record those receivables. The other item being that a couple of years ago, it came to our attention that there was a bit of a change in the funding method that was being used for the payments coming from the city and the county. Back in 2022, prior, it was always very clear when these cash advances came in from the city and the county, it was always very clear that, okay, this portion, this particular payment, this is the appropriation. This is to fund 5% local share of the costs. And then the rest of these payments, these are just borrowings. These are just advances in order to facilitate cash flows. So those will get paid back at some point. But in 2023 and 2024, that got a little murky, and now it's not very clear. Payments are made for these projects. It's not clear how much of this is just temporary borrowing versus how much of this is a permanent funding situation. So we've recorded it all as temporary borrowing for the past couple of years because that was our understanding of what it was. So I guess our recommendation is just that maybe that be take a look at that and see these payments that are being made to facilitate the major capital projects. Is there a way we can break these out and just be clear about, okay, what portion is permanent funding to finance the local share of the projects, and then the rest of it is just borrowing that we can track, and we'll know how much, is due back to the city and the county at the end of the year. That's everything I have. Any questions?
Anyone have a question? Looks like we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, things are. I think you've got the cash flows there. Things are in pretty good shape from that standpoint.
Very good. Well, thank you for that report. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan, very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Suppose we need to vote on that, right, Tyra?
Yes, we should vote to approve that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Motion and a second to approve the audit. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again, Ryan. Managers report.
Please, easy one today. So much was covered under my umbrella of my report. Again, I just can't emphasize enough. Kara, Chelsea, and team, everyone, it's wonderful. Work hard, pull on the same end of the rope. It's great. Once circling back to Mike's presentation about the roofing company, just really super people. Really, really nice. Very, very good. As we speak today, we're doing our annual painting on the airport, including doing some work for you guys. We're repainting some striping there.
My
for
stop points
Skyway.
are going to be new again?
Yeah, we'll get that done for sure. So yeah, projects have been going along incredible. Even the monsoon the other day was a relatively short setback for us. Not very little, no damage on the airport at all. Some aircraft moved in the chocks and the tie downs, but fortunately didn't totally come loose and cause any damage. But no, just been a phenomenal summer getting these projects done, and again, I just really appreciate everybody's support. That's the truth. It's just working together. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyra.
Did you want to touch on the MnDOT?
Well, I was waiting for you to do that, but I'll do it fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Little joke there. What day was that? I can't remember.
17th?
That's what I said. Yeah. 17th, we had a meeting with Midnight Aeronautics. They came up, Ryan, the boss, and some supporting cast members. And at the meeting was Kyra, myself, Matt. I'm sorry, Matt was here. And the reason for the visit was basic discussion about small communities, airline service, what have you. They visited all the airports, the charter carrier airports. I thought it was a productive meeting. Cara had some really good information. It was more to their credit. It was more of a questioning of us and where we're at on the airline and SkyWest, what have you. What am I missing in this meeting? Tell me.
Yeah, just how they can help us and,
Please.
kind of stuff. And if they're with EAS and, I can't remember what the other term was that they
Yeah, the
reference.
subtext.
It's EAS or, I can't
It's
remember
fancy.
what it is, but,
Yeah. Mhm.
so basically we just said, a lot of the stuff in their agendas didn't pertain to our airport because of our size and, how we don't have employees and, just some of our contracts and things like that. So our meeting we were scheduled for 2 hours, but I don't know, an hour maybe, just because of a lot of the stuff didn't pertain to us, so.
Right.
But it was good. It was,
Yep.
helpful, I think, for them, to just kind of hear where we sit on a lot of things and essential air service. We wouldn't survive without EAS,
So they're pleased to see what we have here and
Yeah.
how
Very
to
much
handle
so.
things.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great.
Yep.
Kudos to you guys.
No. Thank you. Thanks. I apologize. I forgot about that. Thank you.
Anything else, Kyra?
for that. And then claimants are in the packets. We were up again last month, so that kind of made up for our shortfall in April. But we're tracking to be ahead as usual. Then there's some marketing opportunities in there from KVHS. And Birchdale Jubilee, they're not meeting, so we don't have to worry about that. The Minnesota District Fair, I believe we have done that one in the past, as well as the Bass Championship. So those would be the two that I would recommend, and I'm not certain of which one we did in the past for the Bass Tournament. But I'll verify that of whatever we did.
So you're recommending the Bass Championship in the fair?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that
Do we
motion.
need a motion for it? Okay.
I'll
We have a
make it.
motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion second to do the sponsorships for Northern Minnesota District Fair at Little Fork and the annual Falls Bass Championship. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the sign.
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And I'll go back to employments, just let everyone know that we started with 3 additional flights per week, whereas we only had 1 flight on Tuesday, 1 flight on Wednesday, and 2 on Saturday. We now have 2 flights on Tuesday, 2 flights on Wednesday, and 3 flights on Saturday. So that's telling us that SkyWest is going to be bringing
Perfect.
a lot more people this summer.
Big time.
And they've been full.
And they've
Oh,
been
they're
full.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's good.
it's great.
Yeah.
Lots of fishermen.
A lot of folks changed. I'm sorry. A lot of folks increased the travel because of the tariffs, and of course, what happened was the difference in the monies, the difference in the exchange rate changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, wait a minute, man, we're going to go to Canada. So it's great. Yeah. Something in there.
Very good. Anyone else have anything to bring forward?
Record.
Wow. We're going to be adjourned at
Next meeting.
8:30.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wow.
Next meeting.
You did so good last meeting.
Another minute. You got
We had
another
it right
minute
there.
to.
That was the record.
Next meeting, Kara.
I have to be out the 30th, the morning of the 30th, so I'm wondering if the 23rd works.
23rd
That works for us.
Of July.
Okay with everyone else? 23rd of July?
Make it work.
July 23
July 23. We'll
at
see
8
y'all
a.m. right
then.
here.
And we're adjourned at
Wow.
8:39.